A revolutionary voice, introducing T.S. Eliot. T.S. Eliot was a major figure in 20th century literature. He was a poet, playwright, and critic. His work was known for its complexity and innovation. Eliot's writing changed how we see the world. He introduced new ideas and challenged old ones. Eliot was born in the United States but later moved to England. He became a British citizen. Eliot's work often reflected his dual identity. He explored themes of alienation and searching for meaning. His writing had a profound impact on modern literature. Eliot's poetry was often difficult but rewarding. He used language in new ways. Eliot created vivid images and explored complex emotions. His most famous poem, The Wasteland, is a masterpiece of modernism. It captures the fragmentation and disillusionment of the post-World War I era. Eliot's critical writings were equally influential. He introduced important concepts to literary criticism. These concepts helped us understand literature in new ways. Eliot's work continues to be studied and debated today. His legacy as a literary giant is secure. Painting pictures with words, the power of the objective correlative. One of T.S. Eliot's key contributions to literature was the concept of the objective correlative. This idea changed how writers express emotions in their work. Instead of directly stating feelings, Eliot suggested using concrete objects, situations, or events to evoke emotions in the reader. Think of it like this: instead of saying "I'm sad," a writer might describe a wilted flower, a rainy day, or a lost photograph. These images, without explicitly mentioning sadness, can create a powerful feeling of melancholy in the reader. This is the essence of the objective correlative. Eliot believed that using concrete imagery was more effective than abstract statements. By showing rather than telling, writers could create a more powerful and lasting emotional impact on their audience. The objective correlative became a cornerstone of modernist literature. It influenced countless writers who followed in Eliot's footsteps. The objective correlative is still relevant today. We see it used in various forms of art and media. From novels and poems to films and video games, artists use concrete imagery to evoke emotions and create immersive experiences. Eliot's legacy lives on through this powerful literary technique. A divide in feeling. Understanding dissociation of sensibility. T.S. Eliot believed that something significant had changed in the way people experienced the world and expressed their emotions. He called this change dissociation of sensibility. Eliot argued that in earlier periods, like the Elizabethan era, there was a greater unity between thought and feeling. People could experience the world in a more holistic and integrated way. However, Eliot believed that this unity had broken down in the centuries leading up to his time. He felt that intellectual thought and emotional feeling had become separated. People were no longer able to fully connect with their emotions or express them in a genuine way. This led to a sense of fragmentation and alienation in art and life. Eliot saw this dissociation of sensibility reflected in the literature of his time. He felt that much of modern writing was overly intellectual and lacked emotional depth. He longed for a return to a more unified sensibility. Eliot believed that art should appeal to both the head and the heart. The concept of dissociation of sensibility remains a topic of debate among literary scholars. Some argue that it is a valid observation about the changing nature of human experience. Others question whether such a clear-cut division between thought and feeling truly exists. Bridging the gap. Eliot's vision for a unification of sensibility. While T.S. Eliot identified what he saw as a dissociation of sensibility in modern culture, he wasn't content to simply lament this perceived loss. Instead, he envisioned a path back to a more integrated way of experiencing the world. Eliot called for a unification of sensibility, a reintegration of thought and feeling in art and life. Eliot believed that this unification could be achieved through a renewed appreciation for tradition. He argued that by studying the great works of the past, we could learn from the masters who had achieved this balance in their art. He emphasized the importance of classical literature and the values it embodied. Eliot also saw the potential for modern artists to contribute to this unification. He believed that by embracing both intellectual rigor and emotional honesty, writers and artists could create works that spoke to the whole person. He challenged his contemporaries to bridge the gap between thought and feeling. Eliot's call for a unification of sensibility continues to resonate with artists and thinkers today. In a world often fragmented by specialization and technology, his vision of a more integrated and holistic way of being holds enduring appeal. The search for unity and meaning remains a central theme in contemporary art and culture. Order and tradition. Eliot's classical leanings. T.S. Eliot's literary views were deeply influenced by classical literature and thought. He believed that the ancient Greeks and Romans had achieved a level of artistic and intellectual sophistication that had been lost in later centuries. Eliot saw in classicism a model for order, discipline, and timeless values. He admired the clarity, precision, and formal elegance of classical literature. Eliot found in these works a sense of balance and proportion that he felt was missing from much of modern art. He believed that by studying and emulating the classics, modern writers could rediscover these lost virtues. Eliot's classicism extended beyond literature. He was drawn to the hierarchical structures and social order of earlier societies. Eliot believed that these structures provided a sense of stability and meaning that was lacking in the rapidly changing modern world. He often expressed nostalgia for a more traditional way of life. Eliot's classical leanings sometimes led him to hold controversial views. His emphasis on order and tradition could be interpreted as a rejection of modernity and its embrace of change and progress. However, Eliot's admiration for the classics was always driven by a deep love of language, art, and the search for enduring human values. Beyond the romantic lens, Eliot's critique of Romanticism. While T.S. Eliot drew inspiration from classical literature, he was critical of the Romantic movement that had dominated the 19th century. He saw Romanticism as a departure from the classical ideals of objectivity, restraint, and formal discipline. Eliot believed that Romanticism had overemphasized emotion and individualism at the expense of tradition and order. He criticized what he saw as the excessive subjectivity and sentimentality of Romantic literature. Eliot felt that Romantic writers often indulged in personal feelings and self-expression without sufficient attention to craft or form. He believed that this led to a decline in literary standards. Eliot also took issue with the Romantic emphasis on originality and innovation. He argued that the pursuit of novelty for its own sake had led to a disregard for the lessons of the past. Eliot believed that true artistic progress could only be achieved through a deep understanding and appreciation of tradition. Despite his critiques, Eliot recognized the importance of Romanticism in shaping modern literature. He acknowledged the contributions of Romantic writers like William Wordsworth and Samuel Taylor Coleridge. However, he believed that it was time to move beyond the Romantic worldview and rediscover the enduring values of classicism. A new way of seeing Eliot's impact on literary criticism. T.S. Eliot's influence extended beyond his own writing. He was also a highly influential literary critic. His essays and lectures helped to shape the way literature was studied and understood in the 20th century. Eliot brought a sharp intellect, a wide-ranging knowledge, and a keen eye for detail to his critical work. One of Eliot's key contributions to literary criticism was his emphasis on close reading. He believed that literary works should be analyzed carefully and meticulously, paying attention to every word, image, and symbol. Eliot argued that meaning was not something imposed on a text from the outside, but rather something discovered through careful attention to the text itself. Eliot also introduced the idea of the tradition in literature. He argued that no writer exists in a vacuum. Every writer is part of a larger literary conversation that spans across time and cultures. Eliot believed that understanding this tradition was essential for appreciating the full significance of any individual work. Eliot's critical writings were not without their controversies. His views on certain authors and periods could be idiosyncratic and even provocative. However, his essays remain essential reading for anyone interested in literature and literary criticism. His ideas continue to challenge and inspire readers today. An enduring legacy. Eliot's timeless influence. T.S. Eliot's legacy as a literary giant of the 20th century is undeniable. His poetry, plays, and critical writings have left an indelible mark on literature and culture. Eliot's work continues to be studied, analyzed, and debated by scholars and readers alike. His influence can be seen in the works of countless writers who followed him. Eliot's exploration of themes such as alienation, modernity, and the search for meaning in a fragmented world continues to resonate with contemporary audiences. His innovative use of language, imagery, and form inspired generations of poets. His critical concepts, such as the objective correlative and the dissociation of sensibility, remain essential tools for understanding literature. Beyond his specific contributions, Eliot's enduring legacy lies in his unwavering commitment to artistic excellence, intellectual rigor, and the power of language to illuminate the human condition. He challenged readers to think deeply, feel intensely, and engage with literature on a profound level. In a rapidly changing world, Eliot's work offers timeless insights into the enduring questions of human existence.